It was a crisp Sunday morning in late January 2020 when the world stopped for millions of basketball fans. News bulletins cut into regular programming, phones lit up with push notifications, and social media feeds became a blur of disbelief. Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, a five-time NBA champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, and a global sports icon, had died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California, alongside his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, and 7 others. The impact of that loss reverberated far beyond the hardwood courts where Kobe had built his legacy. It reached into homes, schools, and communities across continents. It especially shattered the private world of one woman, Vanessa Bryant. In the days that followed, the focus of public mourning often returned to Vanessa, a woman suddenly thrust into the center of a global tragedy, her grief laid bare under the relentless glare of cameras. She was not only coping with the unimaginable loss of a husband and a child but also stepping into a role that was both deeply personal and unavoidably public, the steward of Kobe Bryant's legacy and the guardian of their surviving daughter's futures. Over the years since that fateful morning, Vanessa has navigated a complex path, balancing private mourning with public appearances, safeguarding her family's financial and emotional well-being, and protecting the brand image and philanthropic work that Kobe had worked so hard to build. Much of this journey has unfolded in the legal, business, and charitable arenas, from managing an estate estimated at hundreds of millions of dollars to leading court battles over privacy rights. But in early 2025, whispers began to circulate, not about contracts, lawsuits, or real estate listings, but about something far more intimate. A single tantalizing claim emerged from an online outlet that during renovations at Vanessa's sprawling Newport Coast mansion, workers had stumbled upon a hidden compartment, sealed away from sight for years. Inside, the report alleged, were personal treasures, handwritten letters from Kobe, a delicate charm bracelet, and a small envelope marked simply with the letter V. The story spread quickly, igniting speculation and emotion in equal measure. Was it true? No major outlet had confirmed it. Could it be another case of internet myth-making? Or was it one of those rare instances where the truth was stranger, and more touching, than fiction? Whether verified or not, this claim became the spark for a deeper conversation. Not just about what might lie within the walls of Vanessa Bryant's estate, but about what such a discovery would mean. Because at the heart of this story is something universal, the way we cling to fragments of those we've lost, how physical objects can hold the weight of memory, and how the public's fascination with celebrity often collides with the private sanctity of grief. This video will take you inside the facts, and the feelings, surrounding Vanessa Bryant's estate. We'll explore the meticulously structured trust Kobe built during his lifetime, the unexpected oversight that left their youngest daughter temporarily unprotected in legal terms, and Vanessa's decisive action to safeguard her family. We'll examine the tangible assets, from real estate to business stakes, and the intangible ones, like legacy and influence. And yes, we'll address the rumor of that hidden drawer, but with the critical eye such a claim demands. And in the end, it may leave you realizing that the most valuable things in an estate aren't always the ones with a price tag. The first time Vanessa Lane met Kobe Bryant, she wasn't the wife of a basketball legend, a public figure standing under the glare of cameras, or the steward of a multi-million-dollar estate. She was just a 17-year-old high school senior in Los Angeles, balancing homework with her part-time modeling work, living a life that, until that moment, was ordinary in all the ways teenagers' lives often are. It was 1999, and Kobe Bryant was already a rising star in the NBA, a 20-year-old shooting guard for the Los Angeles Lakers who carried himself with the quiet intensity of someone who had always been older than his years. The Lakers were heading into a golden era, but Kobe's off-court life was about to take a turn just as dramatic as any buzzer beater he'd ever hit. Their worlds collided on the set of a music video for the group the East Siders, where Vanessa had been hired as a background model. Kobe, visiting the shoot, was immediately drawn to her. There was something in the way she carried herself, poised yet unassuming, confident yet grounded, that stood out. He approached her, and soon the two began talking, exchanging smiles and tentative laughter in a room buzzing with music and production chaos. For Vanessa, it was surreal. She wasn't the type to chase celebrity encounters, yet here was one of the most promising athletes in the country taking a genuine interest in her. For Kobe, the connection was instant, less about her beauty, which was undeniable, and more about her spirit. In a world where people often approached him for what he was, she seemed to see who he was. Their courtship unfolded quickly, partly because Kobe's schedule left little room for drawn-out beginnings. Between practices, games, and road trips, he carved out time to see her. They would talk for hours, often on the phone late into the night, finding common ground in music, dreams, and family values. By the time Vanessa turned 18, Kobe had made his intentions clear. On her birthday, he proposed, a move that shocked not only the media but also some within Kobe's inner circle. He was young, a superstar in the making, and she was still a teenager. But to them, age and fame were irrelevant. They had found something rare, and neither wanted to let it go. On April 18, 2001, the couple married in a quiet ceremony at St. Edward the Confessor Catholic Church in Dana Point, California. It was intimate, just a few guests, and notably absent were Kobe's parents, Joe and Pamela Bryant. His parents disapproved of the relationship at the time, not because of who Vanessa was as a person, but because of the whirlwind speed at which it all happened. The wedding created a rift that would take years to mend. The early years were not without challenges. Vanessa was thrust into a life of constant public attention, dealing with media scrutiny, fan adoration, and the pressures that came with being married to a high-profile athlete. Kobe's career was demanding. The Lakers' success meant constant travel and little privacy. Yet, behind the scenes, their bond deepened. They became each other's confidants, each learning to navigate a world that could be both exhilarating and isolating. In January 2003, the couple welcomed their first daughter, Natalia Diamante Bryant. The birth shifted everything. Kobe, already driven, began to think more about the future beyond basketball. He started building an estate plan, not the glamorous kind filled with headlines, but the meticulous kind that protected his growing family. It was the first step toward what would one day become the Kobe Bryant Trust. As the years unfolded, so did their family. Gianna Bryant was born in 2006, her competitive spirit and love for basketball a mirror of her father's. Their family life, while still under the microscope, began to take on a rhythm. Lakers championships, family vacations, red carpet events, and quiet nights at home in Orange County. It was during these years that Vanessa quietly began to shape the role she would one day inherit, protector of the Bryant legacy. She wasn't just the woman beside Kobe at public events. She was the one managing the household, the children's schedules, and the quieter, less visible details of their life. She had an intuitive understanding of how to keep their private world intact despite the glare of fame. No one could have known then that the foundation they were building, both in love and in legal planning, would one day be tested in the most unimaginable way. And no one, least of all Vanessa, could have predicted that she would one day be standing alone at the helm of everything they had built together. By the early 2000s, Kobe Bryant was no longer just a promising young player. He was becoming a phenomenon. The Los Angeles Lakers, with Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal as their cornerstone duo, were on their way to securing a place in NBA history. Championships in 2000, 2001, and 2002 turned Kobe into a household name. His relentless work ethic and laser-like focus on the court became his trademark, and Mamba mentality was quietly taking shape long before the world knew the term. For Vanessa, these were years of rapid adjustment. The life of an NBA star's wife meant glittering events, magazine spreads, and enviable travel, but it also meant months of Kobe being away, enduring intense media speculation, and navigating the fine line between public image and private life. Still, she embraced her role with a blend of grace and protectiveness, becoming a steady anchor amid the whirlwind. When Natalia was still a toddler, Kobe began to think differently about the future. He wasn't only building a career, he was building something that could last beyond the cheers, the trophies, and the games. Kobe was pragmatic. He knew the career of a professional athlete, no matter how successful, had an expiration date. He also knew that the financial security of his family shouldn't be tied solely to his playing days. That's when the conversations about estate planning began in earnest. In 2003, Kobe created what would later be known as the Kobe Bryant Trust. The initial structure was straightforward but forward-thinking. It was designed to provide for Vanessa and their children, to safeguard earnings, and to ensure smooth management of assets in the event of his passing. He worked closely with attorneys to ensure that major holdings, future investments, and intellectual property rights, from endorsements to potential media ventures, were shielded from unnecessary taxation or legal entanglements. While the term trust might sound cold or transactional, for Kobe it was a love letter written in legal language. It was his way of saying, "I will take care of you, even when I can't be here." Meanwhile, Vanessa was finding her own identity within this expanding life. She wasn't a silent partner in Kobe's vision. She had strong opinions about their financial decisions, the properties they purchased, and the ventures they supported. When they moved into their multi-million-dollar Orange County home, Vanessa handled much of the design and organization, ensuring it was not just luxurious but warm, a true home for their growing family. In May 2006, the Bryants welcomed their second daughter, Gianna. From the moment she could walk, Gigi was following her father into the gym. Kobe saw in her the same competitive spark that had fueled his own career. He began coaching her youth teams, sharing with her the subtleties of the game, the discipline of practice, and the joy of competition. Those father-daughter moments became some of the most cherished in the Bryant household. By now, Kobe's professional success had afforded them a life of extraordinary comfort, lucrative endorsement deals, real estate holdings, and early-stage business ventures like Bryant Stibble, a venture capital firm he co-founded with Jeff Stibble. Kobe was also investing in storytelling, launching Granity Studios to produce sports-related books and films. Vanessa, though rarely in the spotlight for these endeavors, was always in the loop. She understood that these weren't just business projects, they were legacy projects. In 2011, as their daughters grew and their assets multiplied, Kobe and Vanessa updated the trust to reflect their expanding family and portfolio. It was amended again in 2017 after years of steady growth in Kobe's post-playing career investments. The trust now covered not just existing assets, but future ventures, ensuring that the Bryant name, brand, and financial foundation would endure for generations. Looking back, it's clear that these legal moves weren't simply about wealth management. They were about foresight, about crafting a safety net strong enough to hold up under any circumstances. But neither Kobe nor Vanessa could have imagined how soon that safety net would be tested, and how even the most careful planning could overlook something so crucial. Those quiet years, filled with basketball games, business meetings, school events, and family trips, were not just the backdrop to their marriage, they were the bedrock of what would one day be called the Bryant estate. By the mid-2010s, Kobe Bryant was entering the twilight of his NBA career. The 2010 championship, his fifth, had cemented his status among the game's legends, but the relentless physical toll of 2 decades at the highest level was beginning to show. Injuries came more frequently, a torn Achilles in 2013, knee and shoulder issues in the seasons that followed. Yet even as his body protested, his competitive spirit refused to yield. Vanessa watched all of this with the dual perspective only a spouse could have. She saw the public Kobe, the warrior who fought his way through rehab, who stepped onto the court as if the game still owed him nothing and he owed it everything. And she saw the private Kobe, the man who came home sore and exhausted, icing his knees while helping their daughters with homework or reading bedtime stories. In December 2011, after a period of personal strain that had led to divorce filings earlier that year, Kobe and Vanessa reconciled. They chose to recommit, quietly dismissing the legal proceedings and reaffirming their marriage. That decision marked a turning point. They were determined to weather storms together, to protect what they had built. The years that followed were filled with both professional milestones and personal joys. Kobe's farewell season in 2015-16 was a traveling celebration, with opposing teams and fans honoring his career at every stop. Vanessa was there for many of those moments, smiling in the stands with their daughters as Kobe's peers and rivals gave him standing ovations. And on April 13, 2016, Mamba Day, Kobe delivered a finale no one could forget, scoring 60 points in his final NBA game. Retirement didn't slow him down, it simply shifted his focus. Kobe poured his energy into storytelling, coaching Gianna's basketball team, and expanding his investments. Vanessa, too, embraced this new chapter. Without the grind of the NBA season dictating their schedule, the family could travel more, spend lazy mornings together, and create the kind of memories that would never fit into a highlight reel but mattered far more. In December 2016, they welcomed their third daughter, Bianca Bella Bryant. With her arrival, the Bryant household became livelier, noisier, and even more love-filled. Kobe often joked that he was a proud girl dad, and Vanessa cherished the balance of his fierce ambition with his tenderness at home. By mid-2019, the family's joy grew once again when Vanessa gave birth to their fourth daughter, Capri Kobe Bryant. Capri's arrival completed what Vanessa would later call their perfect team. But this was where, unknowingly, a small but significant oversight began to take root in their otherwise airtight estate planning. The Kobe Bryant Trust had been updated twice, in 2011 and 2017, but those updates were years before Capri's birth. The trust provisions named only the older daughters, Natalia, Gianna, and Bianca. Capri, though equally cherished, was not yet alive when the documents were last revised, and the trust contained no automatic inclusion clause for future-born children. It was the kind of detail that slips past even the most diligent planners. Kobe was alive, healthy, and only 41 at Capri's birth. There was every expectation that he and Vanessa would get around to updating the trust in due course. Life was full, the family was thriving, and the future seemed like a wide-open court stretching far beyond the three-point line. But behind those moments of joy, Capri's first smiles, Gianna's dominance on the court, Natalia's teenage milestones, fate was quietly counting down to a day that would change everything. And when that day came, it would fall to Vanessa to not only shoulder the emotional weight of loss but also to confront the legal reality that Capri, their youngest daughter, was not yet protected under the trust's terms. It was a cruel twist in an already devastating story, one that would require her to step into an arena far removed from basketball, the courtroom. The morning of January 26, 2020, began like so many others in the Bryant household, with the energy of a family constantly in motion. Kobe and Gianna had an early start. They were headed from their Newport Coast home to the Mamba Sports Academy in Thousand Oaks for a youth basketball tournament. Gigi's team had a game that morning, and Kobe, as coach and proud father, wasn't going to miss it. The plan was routine. They would take Kobe's preferred method of avoiding Los Angeles traffic, a Sikorsky S-76B helicopter. The pilot, Vanessa Bryant, was experienced and familiar with the route. The passengers included two of Gigi's teammates, their parents, and a family friend. Vanessa stayed behind with their other daughters, Bianca and 7-month-old Capri. Natalia, their eldest, had a volleyball tournament elsewhere. But the weather that morning was far from perfect. A thick marine layer had rolled into Southern California, shrouding the hills in fog. Still, the helicopter departed from John Wayne Airport in Orange County just after 9 a.m., heading northwest. At 9:45 a.m., near Calabasas, the aircraft disappeared from radar. The news that followed was as sudden as it was devastating. The helicopter had crashed into a hillside, killing all 9 people on board. Vanessa was at home when she learned what had happened. In those first moments, time became elastic. Everything felt unreal, stretched thin by shock and disbelief. She was hit with 2 shattering truths at once. Her husband, the man she had built her life with since she was a teenager, was gone. And so was Gianna, the daughter who had inherited his drive, his love for basketball, and his place by his side on that flight. In the hours that followed, her home filled with family, friends, and security. News crews and mourners gathered outside the gated community. Phones rang endlessly, condolences pouring in from every corner of the world. Inside, the air was thick with grief, but also with a dawning awareness. There were immediate real-world decisions to make, even as her heart broke. Within days, Vanessa began to understand the practical dimensions of the loss. Kobe's passing meant that she was now the sole steward of everything they had built together. The family, the public image, the businesses, and the vast estate. She would have to navigate the legal process of executing the trust, ensuring financial stability for their daughters, and handling the enormous public interest in every decision she made. But amid the paperwork and legal calls, one detail soon stood out: Capri's name was not in the trust documents. The omission was not intentional, it was simply a matter of timing. Kobe had not updated the trust after her birth in June 2019. Legally, that meant Capri was not yet a recognized beneficiary. In her private moments, Vanessa grappled with grief in its rawest form. She clutched the small things: Kobe's worn Lakers practice shirts, Gianna's basketball shoes still by the door. These were the pieces of her family that no court or contract could touch. But in public, she began to present a calm determination. She knew she had to fight, not for money, but for the principle that every one of her daughters would be protected as Kobe had intended. The weeks ahead would see Vanessa step into legal territory few spouses ever have to tread so soon after a tragedy. She would petition the court to amend the trust, navigate media scrutiny, and begin the long process of carrying Kobe's legacy forward without him. It was the start of a new chapter in her life, one defined not by choice, but by necessity. And while the world mourned with her, only she knew the full scope of what had been placed on her shoulders in those first harrowing days after the sky fell. In the weeks after the crash, grief and responsibility moved side by side in Vanessa Bryant's life. While she tried to find her footing as a mother to 3 grieving daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and baby Capri, she also faced a legal truth that could not be ignored. Capri, just 7 months old at the time of Kobe's death, had been left out of the family trust simply because she was born after the most recent amendment in 2017. It was no one's fault in the malicious sense. The oversight was the kind of small but significant gap that can happen when life moves faster than paperwork. Kobe had always intended for all his daughters to be treated equally, but the trust's language didn't automatically include afterborn children. Without formal inclusion, Capri's share of the estate was not legally guaranteed. Vanessa knew that if Kobe were here, he would have already been at their attorney's office, signing the necessary documents. But now, with him gone, the process was more complicated. Trust law meant that any change had to go through court approval, even with her and the other trustee, Lakers general manager and Kobe's longtime friend Rob Pelinka, in full agreement. On March 26, 2020, less than 2 months after the tragedy, Vanessa's attorneys filed a petition in Los Angeles County Superior Court. The filing requested a modification to the Kobe Bryant Trust to add Capri as a beneficiary, alongside Natalia, Gianna's estate, and Bianca. The petition laid out the facts clearly. The trust had been created in 2003 and amended in 2011 and 2017. Each amendment accounted for the daughters born at the time, but no provision existed for automatically including future-born children. Kobe's intent had always been for all his children to benefit equally from the trust. The court documents were public, which meant the media pounced immediately. Headlines framed the story as Vanessa Bryant goes to court over trust, a framing that risked misunderstanding. This was not about fighting for money in the wake of a tragedy. It was about aligning the legal record with Kobe's clear intentions as a father. Behind closed doors, the process was procedural but still emotionally taxing. Each meeting with lawyers was a reminder that Kobe wasn't there to sign the papers himself. Each legal term and clause felt clinical compared to the real reason Vanessa was pushing forward: the love and security of her youngest daughter. Rob Pelinka's presence as co-trustee was more than symbolic. He had been part of Kobe's inner circle for decades, godfather to Gianna, and one of the few people Vanessa trusted implicitly in this moment. Together, they presented a united front in the filings, emphasizing that the trust's purpose had always been to provide for all of Kobe's children without exception. By April 2020, the court granted the modification. Capri was officially included as a beneficiary in the Kobe Bryant Trust, her future legally protected just as Kobe had always intended. The amendment ensured that her share, like her sister's, would be managed according to the trust's original terms, safeguarding assets until each child reached the designated age for access. It was a victory, not in the celebratory sense, but in the quiet, resolute way that matters most. Vanessa had fulfilled one of the first promises she made to herself after January 26, that she would protect her girls at all costs. Yet even as the legal battle over Capri's inclusion closed, other challenges loomed. There were the ongoing responsibilities of managing the estate's many moving parts: investments, intellectual property, real estate, and the growing weight of Kobe's public legacy. And soon, there would be another more public fight, one not about wealth, but about dignity. By mid-2020, Vanessa Bryant had secured her daughter's rights in Kobe's trust, but a new and deeply personal battle soon emerged. She learned that first responders at the crash site had taken and shared graphic photos of Kobe and Gianna, not for investigative reasons but as morbid souvenirs. The thought of strangers viewing, or her daughters one day discovering, those images filled her with outrage. In May 2020, she sued Los Angeles County for negligence and invasion of privacy, determined to draw a line no one should cross. The trial in August 2022 revealed deputies showing the photos in a bar, at a gala, and among friends. On August 24, Kobe Bryant Day, the jury awarded her $16 million, which she pledged to the Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation. For Vanessa, it was never about the money. It was about protecting her family's dignity. That day, she left court with quiet strength, knowing she had defended Kobe and Gianna as fiercely in death as she had in life. When legal dust began to settle, attention turned to the physical and financial heart of Kobe Bryant's legacy: the estate he had built for his family. Far more than just wealth, it was a collection of properties, businesses, and personal treasures that reflected both his relentless work ethic and deep devotion to Vanessa and their daughters. The Bryant estate included their sprawling Newport Coast mansion, a Mediterranean-style home with sweeping ocean views, a home theater, and walls lined with family photos and memorabilia from Kobe's two-decade NBA career. There were investment properties across California, each holding both financial and sentimental value. Financially, Kobe had diversified long before retirement. He co-founded Granity Studios, his multimedia content company, invested in Body Armor, a sports drink brand whose value skyrocketed, and held stakes in multiple tech ventures. The estate also encompassed lifetime earnings from endorsements, future royalties from his image and likeness, and a vast collection of championship rings, jerseys, and personal mementos. But among the most intimate parts of the estate were the handwritten letters Kobe had left for Vanessa, some discovered only after his passing, along with carefully preserved home videos of their life together. These private treasures, never meant for public eyes, were reminders that while the estate was immense in value, its greatest worth lay in the love and memories it carried. For those who saw even a glimpse of it, the Bryant estate was more than a measure of wealth. It was a map of Kobe's life, etched in both public triumph and private devotion. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos on celebrity lives, estates, and untold stories from behind the headlines. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.